Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris here with your host, Nicholas T. Smith. And oh my gosh, okay, so we have an amazing show for you today. I'm just beyond excited because the universe, I think, drew it in. If this show, if this today resonates with you, share it, like it, comment, start a watch party right now. Go do it, and let's get this up because. One day I was sitting there thinking about all the mysteries of life and wondering if the universe was even paying attention to little old Ryan Morris in Salt Lake City, Utah. And wham, then Deb came along and changed my outlook on a lot of things. And we share a mutual friend, Jishnu. And so I'm paying my respects to Jishnu. And but I want you to, if you have, I don't know, if this resonates at all, please share it. Please like it. Please comment. We would appreciate it. Nick, will you introduce our guest for us today?
I will. You know, it sounds like a game show. Come on down. Yeah. So we got
maybe
Deborah.
It will be someday.
Come on down to the Giants TV show. So Deborah Bibaud, is that right?
Yeah, you said it right. Yay.
Yeah, from Saskatchewan, born in Saskatchewan, lives in Edmonton, Canada. I was looking at the map today of Canada, and it's just enormous. What a huge country. You got a lot of Giants up there. Mm-hmm. In the past 5 years, Deb's overcome addictions, mental health issues that were directly related to a sexual assault. She writes, she's an author, she's a photographer. Are you a singer as well?
I'm getting there.
Getting there, okay. And then she's a published author and also working on another book. And so we're grateful to have you on the show. We're going to dive into your story. And our whole goal here is to really help people understand the Giants' journey. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It feels so awesome. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm just so grateful that Ryan and I were able to connect the way we did, and how we met up was just divinely inspired. And I know it was Jishnu that just like brought us together, all of us. So this is beautiful. Thank you for having me on.
If you don't know who Jishnu is, look him up. We can keep his energy going. Just a great human being. We've missed him for a bit, but we love him. So if you're not following Jishnu or you haven't seen his page or anything, we have some sites set up, I think, right, Ryan? Where people can pay their respects to him. So we already have comment coming through. Good morning, Aaron. Another Canadian.
Hey, we got the same.
Canadians. Yay.
Well, good. Let's jump in and dive into your story, and we'll probably go back to the beginning. When you were younger, what was life growing up? What was it like growing up in Saskatchewan?
Well, I grew up in Saskatchewan. I was born in Saskatchewan for 2 years, and then we came here to Edmonton, and I grew up on a farm. We are lovers of living off the land. We had our own food. We had our own land. We lived in a community. So my grandpa would raise the cows. We did the chickens. My aunt did the turkeys, and we just all lived in this beautiful community of family. And for me, those qualities have never died for me. And integrity was like instilled in us. And helping out a stranger, like you see somebody in the ditch, there's no question. You don't have to be afraid. You just go and help them. You don't have to lock your doors.
I'm finding that a lot with Canadians. They're pretty. They're pretty giving.
You know, and that's something that I think makes this country so great is the people in it. And there are so many Giants, and like you're saying, that Canada's so large. Well, we grow to our environment, so there are tons of Giants. We keep growing. There's no end to the growth.
Well, there's plenty of land up there, so you guys can get pretty tall if you need it.
My son is like already 5'6" and he's 11, so I came out to the country so he can grow even bigger.
Yeah. So you grew up in an environment where your family taught you integrity and hard work. Did you ever have bullies or naysayers or anything growing up?
Yeah, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So right then and there, I was taught to be strong in my convictions, and if people didn't like me, who gives a F, you know? Who cares? Who cares if people don't like you? You literally get trained to knock on the door and get the door slammed in your face and rejection after rejection, but there's always that one person. So I've learned how to accept rejection and stand up for my rights. And if somebody else doesn't like it, well, that's okay. It's not your problem. It's not my problem. I learned how to accept that. So and then be different and be okay with being different.
Now, have you always been into writing, singing, poetry? Is that something that was there from the beginning?
Growing up, poetry wasn't. I was. My sister was more of a poet, and I was quite jealous that she can do it and I couldn't. But I never really tried.
Yeah.
But art, my mom has always instilled in me art, and she knew I was good, so she put me in art painting lessons, and I met just this beautiful human, my instructor, and it was just fate that brought us together. And ever since then, I have to express any kind of pain I express through art.
Yeah. So let's go into that a little bit. So what had you wake up to doing what you're doing currently?
It was the sexual assault that I endured that happened for me, and I know that sounds a little strange, something happening for you that could be that invasive and that damaging, and it really was, but I learned that things have to get really uncomfortable, and I was in a really comfortable place. I was working from home. I wasn't trying to do anything else. I had all these beautiful dreams, but then they would just stop there, right? So it did happen for me, and because of that, I changed laws and how the RCMP, which are the police here in Canada, how they deal with sexual assault and domestic violence cases. And I am now a published author in a book because of my story. So I'm very grateful for it happening, and I'm so grateful that I can be the voice of change, and millions of other people who see my story and they resonate with it. It fulfills me just knowing that I can help just one person.
So you inspire others with your story, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Have you had others do the same for you? Have you had mentors along the way, or people that have inspired you? And can you go into that a little bit and what that did for you?
Yeah, and completely. I've always followed my intuition and my instincts. And about 2 years ago, I suffered a mental psychosis, which I call the breakthrough. A lot of people say breakdown. About 2 days before it happened, and I was hospitalized for a month, I actually became a member of Jay Shetty's Genius Group. And I didn't pay for any subscription things. I'm like, no, it's a false. It's not going to work. But I just was so inclined to join it, and the whole month was all on confidence, and I learned how to truly meditate, how to really take care of myself. And while I was in there, I met incredible people, just synchronicities. Like I work for a telecommunication company, and one person came up to me and he started telling me about the problems with TELUS, or where I worked. And I was giving him advice. He's like, "Oh my God." And I said, "What?" He's like, "You talked to me. You helped me. You helped me leave a bad situation where he was living." And it was just all the synchronicities are just incredible because of my journey.
Perfect. So I want to go backward just a little bit. That's one of the things of this show, is to be able to do that. But going through the experience, the sexual assault, and looking at what you learned through that, because you say it could be a breakdown or a breakthrough. You had the mental psychosis, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of the biggest lessons you learned through all of this?
Well, in the chapter in the book I wrote, and I learned this through Jay Shetty, is the benefits of forgiveness. But not only just the benefits of forgiveness, there actually are 3 types of forgiveness. And by being able to see the different types, and then you can make a choice. You can have an informed decision of what forgiveness you want. The first type of forgiveness is conditional forgiveness. That's when somebody needs to say sorry or apologize to you before you can accept it. That's conditional. Then there's transformational forgiveness, and that's you're forgiving to be a better person. There's benefits to forgiving, financial, spiritual, physical benefits to forgiving. And then there's a third one, and it's unconditional. And that's when I chose. And that might seem like it's the most difficult one, but actually it is the easiest one, because then you don't have to go through everything. You don't have to give anything back. You just let it go. And it took a lot of work to forgive myself the most, because I was blaming myself, because I know I'm intuitive, and I'm like, how come I didn't see this? How come I didn't do this? How come I didn't do that? I didn't realize I was blaming myself until somebody's like, well, you didn't know what you didn't know. You can't read minds. And I'm like, you're right. And then that was the snowball effect.
Do you think a lot of people do that when they have a traumatic experience, that they start blaming themselves?
Yeah, and what I find is, like, the first person he go to, especially an officer who's there to serve and protect you, he blamed me. He actually got into the difference between penetration and foreplay, and that there was no difference in his eyes. Like, he actually went there, and I'm just like, huh? I'm coming to you, and I pay my bills, and I'm a white woman with white privilege, and in an affluent community, and I'm just like, if this happens so easily to me, then how many other people who can't speak up because they're not going to be heard? And I had this feeling of, like, when something, it doesn't work where I work, there's 3 things that I do. I don't just, can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't just bitch about a problem. I don't just say, oh, blah, 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 blah. I think of 3 solutions before I complain, before I even offer anything. I say, this is what happened. Here's 3 solutions. And if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to go up higher. And there's always someone higher up, always. So if somebody's not listening to you, you're not getting anywhere, let me talk to your manager. Let me talk to theirs. So I filed a formal complaint. I went on Global News, which is a news station here in Canada. I'm really good friends with Sarah Krause. And I let her sit on the story for about 4 months. I wanted to see what they would do. And when they did nothing, I'm like, hey, I'm ready to, let's pop this. Let's create some change. And I told her exactly what I wanted, what would have helped me in that situation. Empathy, simple as empathy would have helped.
Yeah.
When you're going to somebody with that, the first thing that you need to hear is, I believe you, I'm sorry that it happened to you, and how can I help? And I didn't get that, but I gave that to hundreds of people.
You know, it in the story, this is coming up for me in this, is in the story, there's the idea of Rit talking to other smalls about wanting to become a giant, or is it a possibility? This situation, even though it's different as far as this is traumatic, and that would be something where you're going out and exploring your world, the situation is the same. Like, when you share that information with somebody, you want to share it with people who have empathy, that have compassion, that can hear you and understand you. And so that's the distinction between listening from the giant's perspective and listening from the small's perspective, is that small's perspective is very judgmental and no concern. Whereas the giant's perspective is, let me hear you and make sure that you know that it matters, that what you went through matters. I mean, what do you think of as you hear that?
I completely agree. And I just like, to be a giant, you don't have to do anything. You just have to be. You be a giant, then you do giant things, and then you get giant things. So it's be, do, have, right? So you be empathetic, you be kind, you be loving. That's giant qualities right there. You be yourself, and then you have everything.
Right. I like that. Let's get out down the rabbit hole a little bit here. So, you know, the whole idea of being a giant, does that mean a giant's on their A game all the time?
I think being a giant actually is about being honest that you're not okay, and being upfront. And for me, I gain strength through my pain. I write through my pain. I push through it, and I've learned how to harness pain for something even better, which is, I can steer it. If you think of it like a horse, I have the harness. Here's the fear. I harness that fear, and then I steer it where I want it to go. So I want to go up and up, up and onward. Well, thank you, fear, for taking me there. You be afraid and do it anyway.
Yeah, I like that. The up and onward. That's a big platform that we're on right now, is the expansion. the beauty of expansion is it means that you had, if there's an expansion, it means there was a start point. And usually it's a small point. And so all of us have some kind of point in our lives, whether it's trauma or some major event. For me, it was a life-changing event. It was a divorce that really just socked me right in the face. Like, dude, you need to wake up. And inside of that, there was a gentleman that said something to me. He said, your life hasn't changed in 10 years. And man, I really took that in. His name is Brandon Craig from Onticore. He's a powerful human. And he said, your life isn't going to change. Your life likely is going to continue the same trajectory that it's been on, because you're going to continue to do the same things you've always done. And so that expansion, that upward spiral that we all want to do is vital. And it can start from, you talk about something happening for you, versus to you. When things happen to you, you stay small because it's out of your control.
Yeah.
Right? And if things happen for you, if you choose to look at it that way, outside of the idea of being delusional, it gives you a chance to really grow. And so you have this
starts you down that giant's path.
Yeah. And maybe you're not clear on the giant's path when you began. But like us, you just start putting energy out and the path clarifies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about standing on top of your story, not sitting in your shit. You don't sit in your shit, you stand on top of it, and you use that for your benefit. Being on a farm, we had this big, wonderful compost pile of horseshit. That's what it is. But it's huge. It's a huge mountain. Why not use that for your advantage? It is what it is. It's shit, but it also is fertilizer. It also helps with the garden. There's so many good things that come from shit. So you just have to let it sit for a bit, but you got to stand on top of it. Don't bathe in it. Don't take any time sitting in it. Get uncomfortable. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the key.
Yesterday I felt like shit.
How did you get out?
I changed my energy flow, and change some things in my head.
What did you say? That's important. That's important for other people to see. What did you say to yourself?
I was like, oh, I'm sick. I feel terrible. All these things. Well, guess what? I attracted more of. I kept getting more of the same. And so then I looked at it and said, okay, well, it is what it is right now. What do I want to be? Where do I want to be? What do I want to have? Well, I want to have healthy. So I changed my flow into a healthy mentality. And this morning I feel amazing.
And it's about intentions for me. I set my intentions with my alarm clock before I wake up. So I want to intend to be happy, healthy, wise, a giant. I set my intentions before I wake up. So then when I look at my alarm clock, it's an alarm, but then it shows me my intentions. So I set those intentions before, and then when I wake up, that's what I intended for the day, and I'm good.
Yeah,
those intentions are powerful. Powerful. That's how I've lost the weight that I've done, is setting the intentions every day and hitting my goal.
Incredible. I mean, you're 191 pounds from 260 roughly.
Yeah, pretty close to there. Yeah.
That's funny. We're the same weight, Ryan.
Yeah.
And Deb, you went through your journey of losing weight as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, definitely. And literally, I was a giant, but not giant mentality.
Yeah.
I was 385 pounds, and I've lost 200 pounds.
Wow.
And I had gastric bypass surgery. And one thing that I was comfortable doing was turning to food as my addiction for comfort. We went through a lot growing up. There was about 7 deaths within 7 years, all close people in our family. My great grandpa, my uncle, my grandma, my grandpa, my dad, my mom's best friend, my dad's best friend. Like, it was just, we were in a constant state of grief, and we weren't able to get through it. So our whole family did what families do when they're in grief. We stuck together, but we fought a lot. I was the youngest out of 2 girls, and I was a scrapper. We fought like boys, like worse, I think, because males come involved and screaming. And anyways, so get past that. But what was the question again?
Talking about your journey in losing weight.
Losing weight. So I ate together. I used that as a coping mechanism, and I'm grateful for it, because if I didn't have that, I don't know, maybe I would have turned to drugs. Maybe I would have. So I thank myself for turning to food, because food was my friend. But then once I had the surgery, I had to do a lot of hard work with breaking up with my friend, the one that was there for me. And I'm getting emotional talking about it still, because that was the only thing that was there for me through the hardest of times. And it's like walking away from that. But then I realized food is here to nourish my body. And if I truly loved food, then I would treat it with respect. If I truly loved my body, I would treat it with respect in what I put into my body. It was a long process for me to like get over the fact of I can't eat. I can't eat my pain. I have to get through it. I have to push through it. I didn't have a coping mechanism. So I had to get through it, and I lost that weight. Then I had a lot of extra skin left over, and the journey wasn't over. But in Canada, so this is all paid for by healthcare in Canada with the gastric bypass. But the skin removal surgery isn't. A portion of it is, but it's not fully. And I manifested an amazing surgeon who works in the burn unit, and what he does is he donates the skin to research for burn victims. Wow. So he was able to write it off, and within a month, I was able to raise $4,000, which was the cost of the surgery. And on the last day, I didn't get paid because here I am. I was just out of the hospital for mental health. For my mental health, and I didn't get paid, and I was expecting to have that $1,000, so I had to eat a piece of humble pie and call my ex-husband and say, I don't know what to do. And guess what? His mom had just got $1,000 cash that she lent me, and I was short that amount. It was just, the universe works in beautiful ways, and when you are genuine and honest with your journey, and this is what you want, and you are able to communicate that with yourself and out loud, everything can happen for you.
I want to dive down that a little bit. The being honest with yourself and, with others. A lot of people can see what's going on in your world. But we put on a show like things are great when they're not great.
Yeah, it's a mask. We literally have a mask.
Yeah, I think of the part in the story when Ritz, he has giant dreams for the first time, and he smashes his house, and he's like, I can't stay here anymore because it's all busted up. And he runs to the land of the giants, and he says, look, I'm not a small anymore, and I'm not a giant. And the giant says, well, you got to make a choice. Do you want to go back, or do you want to move forward? And what happens is, if we're not honest about not being a giant or a small, if we're in that journey and we're not being clear with others or ourselves, how can you progress?
Yeah.
It's really hard to progress without being really honest. And
I didn't even know I was on a giant journey. I just knew my truth. I just knew, because of being the way I was raised, and we were loud and proud. We talked about every problem and anything. We probably overshared a lot, but it was what helped me to be able to speak up to everyone and be like, hey, this is wrong. Let's talk about it. And actually talking about it helped me. So I was born to be one.
Hey, Deb, can you talk about your, the project that you did with the photography around that's the weight loss and the skin and things like that?
Definitely. And you can check it out. It's called the Skin I'm In Experience on Facebook. I met this wonderful photographer that works. He has it's called the Humans Experience, and he helps homeless people and show a face to homelessness, and does a lot of great things. And I finally met him, and we just, when you just have a soul connection. So I'm a photographer too, and I said, do you want to do something awesome together? He's like, what is it? I said, I want to be naked in front of camera, in front of everybody. I want to show people what I'm hiding, because I felt like such a fraud. I had 10 pounds of extra skin, and I was really good at covering up. I was really, really good at it. But people didn't know what I went through, because I needed to expose myself, literally, so I didn't feel like a fraud. And I wrote my whole journey down. And then I realized that I'm not the only one that feels like this. So I put a call out to one of the weight loss groups I'm in. It's called the Bariatric Sisterhood. And I put a call out saying, we're looking for people to be brave. and come and join in the cause, because first of all, it's not covered. Second of all, it is covered up by your clothes. And thirdly, I was free after I did that. I felt so free. And there's a 3-part series on it. You can read it on the Skin of Men Experience on Facebook. And the type of just the journeys of these gorgeous other women through their stories. One of them, you'll see her story, and she contacted me, and that night, if I hadn't posted, she said she was gonna end it, and she didn't, because her son saw it first and then said, no, Mom, you gotta do this, and ever since then her life has been progressing. And there's a 3-part process that I just found out about, well, not just, but while I was working with Jay Rothman on a show that I was working on, is you have to feel it, then you reveal it, and then you heal from it. And that's exactly what I was doing. I just didn't know there was a process. So
I got to write that
I like
down.
how Canadians say process instead of process.
Process, like garage.
And sorry.
I don't say sorry. I say I apologize, because sorry puts you in a place of victim mentality. So I say I apologize for that. I don't go I'm sorry anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sorry for my existence. I'm not sorry for my energy. I'm actually here. Take it.
Yeah.
I own it. Yeah.
So there's some freedom. You talked about the freedom that comes with revealing what is, and there's some power and energy in that. You know, I started these shows in the basement of my brother's house, fresh out of divorce, trying to get back to life after getting knocked on my ass. You know, and so. The thing is, most of us don't want others to know that. And then there will be some, when you share it, that say, why are you sharing this? You're sharing too much, because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And which is a projection from their end, I believe, of what they're uncomfortable with in their own lives. But for me, it was freeing to be able to just say, this is where I'm at. You know, even now we're still building this. You know, it's a global community, but we're still building it. And you know, we're still vulnerable, and we still go through things. We both still work, you know, me and Ryan, and people question, why are you doing all this? And well, here's the reason, is because of giants like you and giants like those that are watching, because
and like you, Ryan.
You know? It's making a difference
Mm.
in people's lives. And that's what keeps us going, is we have enough people coming through saying, you got to keep this going. I love this. You made my day. This changed me today. It's that inspiration, like you talk about that person, that woman who is ready to take her life, which is a huge issue right now. This is something that we should be talking about more, as suicide. Your inspiration inspired her to keep going another day. And it's not like you did it for that.
You did it for me.
You did it for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm learning this too, because I'm actually learning that my whole reason for incarnating on Earth, I like to say, is to learn how to receive, and how to actually ask for help and to receive. And when I'm in a constant state of giving out what I don't possess, how can I help anybody? Because I haven't been, or like, I haven't actually truly healed. If I haven't healed, how can I help with other people? So it seems selfish, but there's a great way to be selfish, and in the noblest sense of the word, you can still be selfish, but do it for yourself. Don't be selfish and take things from people. Be selfish and keep it for yourself, because it will overflow, and then boom, it's just like overflowing cup, and you have all the energy you need, plus more, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about this paradox called "it's hard to give what you don't have." It's a paradox, because the reality is you start to gain more by giving what you don't have. And by giving what you don't have, you start to give more, because your capacity increases, and now you do have.
Yes.
But you're also stepping out of the bounds and giving what you don't have. I mean, in a paradoxical way, really the only way to give is to just give.
Yes.
And so I like that.
And for me, giving could be as simple as a smile, or as simple as, like, people are so caught up in their head right now. And I love interacting with people. I love keeping them on their feet and like, how's your day? And they go, oh, not bad. I'm like, well, it's better than not too good. And like, hey, yeah, you're right. You know, just simple things that just take them out of their trance, of their trance of like, they just want to look. It's not that they want to, because I've been there, but when you are in darkness, you look for other people who are in darkness. Instead of that, if you see that one person smile at you, take a minute and just think about it, just how grateful you are that that one person took their time out of their day to smile at you. You're that important. Somebody took their energy and gave it to you. And then that creates such a ripple, because then you're smiling. And even if you're not smiling at somebody, they're going to feel your energy. And just, it's a beautiful ripple.
The idea of the darkness, you know, that's another area that people
I think it's a great one.
We all have it. I wake up most days anxious, and what people don't know is that most mornings I wake up a little bit hopeless in a way. But like you mentioned earlier about intentions, and the power of intentions. I posted the other day about a flower. If you told a flower that it had to measure its success by its daily accomplishments, it would feel like a failure. But at the same time, it can feel successful with those daily accomplishments. They're the things that keep it going. But it's those little daily intentions that don't feel like much movement that are creating a drastic change in our lives.
Forward is forward.
It is forward. And I look at where we are today. You look at where you are, Ryan, me, versus where we were a year ago.
Oh, man.
And if you can take that look, that overview of it, and really look at how far you have come and acknowledge that, I mean, it's incredible, the growth we've experienced. And I'd imagine in your life, you've had something similar.
Well, definitely. And I just want to kind of go into that a little bit, because it is so important. So we're all taxpayers, hopefully.
Yeah.
We have to take an inventory of our accomplishments, which would be quote unquote financial, but that's not the only thing. What I do is I do a performance review for work. Why aren't we taking a personal inventory of our successes? And if we can't remember them all at the end of the year, then you write them down throughout the year, and then you compile them and say, this is my inventory. This is what I did. Good for me. And then you have a book.
Yeah. Good for me. Yeah. Why not say good for me? Because that, that it's self-interested. It's self-caring. You know, people say the word selfish as though it's a bad term, but
it's redefining it.
Yeah, you really need to really take care of yourself too. It's so interesting. I went through, in my darkest times, I had to dive inward, and so people might say that's selfish. But in diving inward and working on myself, I was able to reach outward. If there's a statement that says, if you don't go within, you'll go without.
I love that.
And so there's a part of that has to occur. But when you get stable, then it becomes more of going outside of you and serving others, which really takes it to another level of healing.
Oh, completely. Acts of service. If you are in a funk, anybody who's watching right now, if you're in a funk of woe to me and life sucks and oh man, the dichotomy, whatever, if you are in that funk, service to others will get you out of that. And the attitude of gratitude. So when I had the psychosis, I went on a manic high, and then I didn't realize what goes up had to come down. And last year was the darkest time of my life. I've never felt depression in my life, and that was so difficult to get through. And it's about tricking your mind, right? Your thoughts aren't your own. Your thoughts aren't you. You are you, and your thoughts are happening. So when you can separate yourself from your thoughts and realize that they're happening, I was able to do 3 things. So anytime a negative thought would come up or something that would make me feel crap, and then you kind of want to go on the crap train and go deeper into the crap, I would think of 3 things that would make me smile. And you guys are going to laugh. Well, you might. Let's see. The first one was my son. My son is the reason I'm here, and the reason why, literally the reason I woke up every morning, because I had to wake him up for school, get him ready. First of all, that was gratitude and acts of service. The second one was cute little fluffy puppies. Oh, cute little white fluffy puppies. Oh, yeah. Of course, they're going to make me smile. The third one, if that didn't work, I just had to think about farts. Farts make me laugh anytime. The sound, the smell, oh, it's gross and hilarious at the same time. And that got me out of my stinky thinking.
That's funny.
Was thinking about stinky thoughts.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Use farts to take your stinking thinking away.
Yeah, stinking thinking can go.
How funny. Yeah, that's funny. Humor's important.
Oh, humor is amazing. If
In the journey.
if you want a really good comedian, look up Sterling Scott. He's a Canadian, incredible. He got signed by Kevin Hart, which is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Check him out. He's so funny.
Oh.
He's a giant too, for sure.
Right.
Hey, Deb, talk to me real quick about, so in this whole process, me and you have talked, and part of the reason why we connected is because I was asking questions about the universe and some energy and things like that. You had talked about dreams and how you essentially paint people's dreams, and your photography and the energies there, being a medium. Will you go into that a little bit and how that journey happened?
I always knew that I had lots of gifts. I just didn't know how to use them. So when I had the psychosis, the veil lifted between everything, and it was the most scariest time of my life. I still have a bit of residual PTSD from that experience. I'm working on it, but it also allowed me to really connect with myself and my intuition, and allow myself to. A lot of things are tools. I just have tools. I already know what it is, but the tools help me communicate better. If you have a dream, I can interpret that. I draw people's spirit animals. I do guided meditations. Well, okay, you'll say go on a meditation, and I'll just say, okay, you're going on a trip. You're going on a walk, and then you describe to me where you're going and where you're going, and I'll just be like, oh, do you know there's a little corner there that you can take, and you might find something really cool, because I've been there. I found all my treasures. Maybe I haven't found them all, but I found a lot of them. But it's like a video game, and we have all these amazing gifts for ourselves. We just don't know how to get there, and it's like a life hack. So I love being able to listen to the universe, listen to myself. The universe is me. I am the universe. And as I'm looking, there's 3 ravens just flying over. So I get signs everywhere. Everywhere there's beautiful, beautiful signs and messages. And within nature, for me, it's nature.
What does some of that mean too, Deb?
Let me throw a quote out real quick, Ryan, and then if you'll hang on to that. This is from Charles Bukowski. He says, "Some people never go crazy. What a truly horrible life they must live."
Right? I'm on the cute side of crazy. So I'm good.
Guilty.
People don't know how hard it is to stay on the cute side of crazy.
I'm gonna post on that, being on the cute side of crazy.
Yeah. Do you remember what your thought was? I threw you off track.
Yeah. So, well, and just some people don't see those things, the synchronicities. We talked about that a little bit. I in our phone call and stuff like that, I've talked to you about the numerology and the synchronicity I'm seeing in an intense way that I never looked at before. In my religion and the things that I was taught and the culture that I live in, you don't explore those things.
Yes.
Right? Does that make sense? And so having my mind open to those different things and being curious in energies and a few different types of those things. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm finding that a lot. You just talked about the ravens that came across. Nick taught me about spirit animals. Mm-hmm. And some of the different meanings. We would go for walks and he'd go, "Hey, did you see that? Look at this spider. Look at this. There's a fly flying around. It's telling you to pay attention to something."
Yes.
You know, there's so all these different things. What did the ravens just, whisper to you? What did that just tell you?
That was a sign for me. That was like the universe blinking, saying I'm on the right road. What I said is going to resonate with so many people, and by me being open and actually just seeing them, not just noticing them, but speaking it, other people now have that unlocked for them, because now they're going to see that, or they'll be like, "Oh, I never really noticed it." It's a way of opening up the communication to animals speak to us, and we just aren't connected because we live in concrete jungles, and everything bounces off, which is negative energy, not necessarily negative, but pollution. And oh, the ravens are there again. But I moved to the country, and when you're in the city, I find our auras, they shrink down into smalls, right? And we were so frustrated. My son and I were so frustrated in the city, and I'm just so grateful the universe actually, like, this is me right here living in my comfort zone. The universe is like, no, you got to go, and just pushing me. Finally, I'm just like, fine. And that leap of faith and that leap and saying, okay, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be afraid and do it anyway. And saying yes. When you say yes to yourself, the universe says yes to you. It's always giving you. It's always walking towards you. It's always taking steps towards you. You just have to take a step, one step to the universe, and boom, everything's for you then.
Okay, so I'm having a thought here. We'll jump down this for a minute. I've always been of the not always, used to be somewhat spiritual, but dove into the more scientific side of things. So wanting to know, what's the research? How is this supported? The crazy thing about it is that I'll look at an article from a research journal. I'll search Google and I'll read that article. And in my mind, I say, oh, that's true because it came from an authority figure, right?
Yeah.
And then I might read something about synchronicity and say, well, where's the evidence for that? Right. But in all cases, all of us are going to the same damn website, Google, to research this stuff. And then we're pulling it up, whatever view we want to hold. And then we find supporting evidence around that.
Perspective, right? It's all about what's true for you. And I guess when something is said and it sounds true and I'm not quite sure, I actually ask myself, is this true for me? Because it could be true for you, but maybe it's not true for me. So is this true for me? And if I get a yes, your body actually answers. Like, have you ever done this test? It's like similar to a pendulum, but pendulum is just a tool. So it's not but you can do this with your own body. If you close your eyes and you say, show me my yes is leaning forward. And then you stand up and you put your arms out, show me my no, it's like this. And then my maybe this way. So it's a really neat way of just being in tune with your body and like actually being able to ask yourself questions. And you eventually, I think that's just more of a calibration. Once you start asking yourself, you don't actually lean forward, but your energy does. And you feel that.
Well, it's aligning with what resonates for you. It's aligning with the truth. I like that you said a truth, your truth. Yeah. There are some things that are discovered. This is the crazy thing about science, is they're discoveries. It's not like they're creating anything new.
Yes, it's already been there.
They uncovered it. Was there before they uncovered it.
And it's their perspective.
Yeah. And so to say that, oh, he's a Nobel Prize winner because he discovered this thing, well, yeah, he dug in the dirt and he found a rock basically that's special. In a way, that's what it looks like, is he was digging or she was digging and they found something that's unique that was already there.
Yeah.
And so there's so much that we don't understand about the universe and how it works. And so it's really aligning with what works for you, what's true for you. Yeah. And those beliefs can be powerful. If you believe that you can't become a giant, if you believe your story and you don't stand on top of it, then you'll start to live your life as though that's the case. And that's what you start to see.
And I wanted to kind of bring up a little bit more about victim mentality, because it's very easy to get into, very easy to say, oh, that happened to me, or like when that happened for me, I didn't stay victim at all. I immediately am like, wait a second, this isn't right. Screw you. You know, I'm going to stand on top of it. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm actually a thriver now. I'm not. There's processes. There's victim. There's survivor, there's thriver. And I didn't stay victim. I stayed survivor for quite a while because I needed to work on me. Now I'm thriving, and I don't know what's after thriving, but maybe we'll find something.
Yeah. Let's do this. If you were to go back in time and you were to talk to Deb Jr., I don't know if we could say that way. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
But if you were to talk to your younger self before everything had happened, what would you say? What would be one piece of wisdom that you would share with yourself?
Have you ever watched Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
So you know when Dory's swimming down and Marlon's not wanting to go because he's gonna find the goggles, and she just grabs him and she just starts singing. Do you remember that song?
Uh-huh.
Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim, swim. So my suggestion would be just keep swimming, just keep walking, just keep. It feels uncomfortable. It's probably really freaking cold, but just keep swimming.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Um, let's talk about some daily intentions and routines. What are
Okay, that's what I'm working on that. So
yeah,
I'm going to be completely brutally honest. I just finished moving. Everything's a mess in here.
yeah,
Everything's everywhere. But I am working now on getting a daily routine back into play. So even if the first thing I do when I wake up, I have this meditation that I listen to before I even get out of bed. I put it on, and when I wake up, I've already meditated. I've done this most important thing in my life, in my journey, in my day, and then everything after that, it's a bonus. So the
right.
first thing I do is I don't even have to wake up. I just lay in my bed and maybe I go back to sleep, but I'm meditating.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. So
And it
everything.
works so well, especially if you're depressed. If you're in depression, because that's what happened to me. I was in major depression. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to think about meditating. What the heck? I don't want to do that because you're in depression. I just
Right.
turned it on Audible, put on Angel Prayers by Kyle Gray, connected with your angels, and I fell asleep most of the time, but my subconscious was getting it. And I
So
do that in the morning. I do that before bed, and um, that's my routine. And even if I fall asleep, I don't feel bad about it because actually I feel better because my monkey mind isn't working against me. It's actually absorbing everything. So
I like that. The idea that in some of my darkest times, darkest moments, it was my routines that carried me. Making my bed first thing in the morning, taking a cold shower, working out, eating healthier. Those things kind of carry you through when they become a routine. They carry you. The idea though is that a routine is different from a habit. A
yes,
routine you have to think about. It's a
it's
little bit
conscious.
more intentional. It's conscious. A
Conscious.
habit is unconscious. It's
Yeah.
that it's automatic. About 45% of what we do each day is automatic.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a
We're
lot.
on autopilot most of the
Yeah.
time.
So to really get up and get intentional, it gets you into that conscious state where you're not running that autopilot, because those negative thoughts and those depressive thoughts and anxious thoughts are the
They're
automatic.
they're the program that you put on that you're decided to play as soon as you wake up. Oh, this sucks again. It's Groundhog Day. No,
Yeah, yeah,
press
yeah.
stop on that or pause it just for a little. Just pause, press pause
Well,
on those tracks that you're playing.
yeah, that's what even listening to an audio does.
Yes, it
Is
takes you out of that.
you're choosing it.
And one thing that was really helpful was essential oils, and I would put them on my wrist and around my ears, and um, anytime I would get a stinky thought, I'd just go, I smell that and be like, okay, puts me back in the moment, because we've been taught how to pray all wrong. And I don't know if anyone prays, but it doesn't matter to me because I do. But if that resonates with you or whatever it is, but we've been taught to ask. We've been taught to ask for something which comes from a place of lack, right? So what I do, and I've learned this from Kyle Gray, is it's affirmational prayers. So instead of saying, please help me, please, thank you, Lord, please help me, I say, thank you. Thank you, angels, for showing me your presence today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you, God, for being here. And by thanking him, it's already done. It's already done. We have all the control, and that's right here in the moment, not the
Yeah,
past, not the future. When you're thinking in the future, you're anxious. When you're thinking in the past, you're depressed. When you're thinking in the now, you got this.
yeah, and it can be moment to moment, and sometimes you do slip back and you go back
Oh
to those
yeah.
old routines, and so having a fallback, having something that you can dive into when you get there, something that gets you conscious. For me, it was walks or video games or anything that would just give me a little bit of a distraction that I'd have to focus on so that I could regain some footing and then re-engage with life.
I love how you said the word focus, and I wanted to bring up because I went and got a tattoo,
Yeah, nice.
and it's a old fashioned camera and paintbrushes, because to me photography saved my life. So after the sexual trauma that happened, I actually, the weekend, so this is on a, say, a Thursday, that weekend I had a photo shoot for my best friend's wedding. And I was like, I'm not going to not do it. And everybody, it's all my family. So all my family was there. It was such a beautiful experience. But what it did is it kept me in the moment and kept me looking at unconditional love and through the lens. And I had blinders on because it was my lens, and that transformed everything. I didn't focus on the happened to me. I focused ahead, just keep going forward, just keep going. And then editing, it took about a couple months or a couple of weeks to edit everything. So I would go back to that time frame, and I didn't have time to reflect on that. I was still fighting, of course. But I was moving forward. I was making progression. I was moving ahead. So photography, everyone has a camera. So what I say, anyone who has lost hope or they don't know what hope is, you go look through your camera and you set the intention that you're going to find hope. Right then and there, you've already found it because you believe it exists.
Okay, so that right there is a nugget that people might have. It really is. I'm going to write this down because any kind of a purpose. For me, it was the book. For you, as a camera. For others, it's art. Mm-hmm. A purpose is an aim. If you look at the definition of the word, purpose means an aim or a goal. And people look at it as though it's this thing you've got to find. You got to go dig it up. And then if you get lucky enough to find it, you can live into it. Mm-hmm. I learned from a buddy of mine, Grant Thompson. He had 10 million subscribers, over 1 billion views on YouTube on his content. Incredible human, really successful. Was successful in that, created it. And he said, well, I accomplished one purpose. Now I'm trying to figure out what my next purpose will be. And in that comment right there, it clarified for me that a purpose isn't something that you just have or find. It's something that you create.
I love that.
And so having a photography as an aim gives you something to be intentional about. Mm-hmm. If you're watching this video and you're struggling and you've got anxiety or depression, or you're really in that dark space, create anything that gives you purpose. Yeah. Viktor Frankl talked about in the concentration camps, I bring him up a lot, that the people that survived or that did the best in the camps were the ones that created a purpose. And it could be as simple as being the one that wakes up to give bread to their neighbor the next day. That could be
and that's acts of service, right?
Yeah. And so being intentional around a purpose that you create can be enough to pull you out of the depression that you're in.
And one thing that I also learned, and I took a course, it's called FLIP, Family Life Improvement Program, and it's run through Native Counseling Services in Alberta, and it just landed in my lap. And it teaches the Indigenous way of living and healing, and that's what I healed most with. And my beautiful mentor, we call her Cuckoo, but it's Kukum that we call her. And first thing she told me is, be afraid and do it anyway. The second thing was, don't say my depression, my anxiety, because when you say that, okay, universe will just give it to you. Mine, the depression, the anxiety. And I learned that about the weight. I didn't own my weight. It's the weight. And I'm not my weight. I am a soul living in a container that some people might be uncomfortable by. Okay, if I'm uncomfortable by it, I change it.
Nick. We've talked about this a lot.
Oh, well, we can go there.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Keep going. You're doing great.
We're given a container, and we're a soul. We are not our body. We are a soul in a body. We have a soul. We have a body. We have a soul. Our body is our container for our soul. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I see it as a container, as a vessel, as a capacity. You know, the consciousness, science still can't wrap its mind around consciousness. They can't find it in the human body anywhere because it permeates everything. Yes. And so that consciousness, that soul, if you want to call it soul, is what we're increasing in capacity, is our ability to allow that in and manifest in our lives. And we manifest it through our behaviors and our thinking. And so the whole idea, I just want to do kind of a quick recap of the journey here, is that, You grew up in a family that taught you integrity and work.
Yeah.
You go through an experience that really rocks your world and has you wake up and say, do I want to be a victim to this or have this work for me?
Mm-hmm.
You take that experience, you decide, I'm going to stand on top of my story. And so you go out from that story and you start creating the life that you want. And this is what people don't understand maybe as much on the giant's journey, is that a giant is any human being who is pursuing their highest potential. And so here you are pursuing your highest potential. And so your journey is a little different from anyone else's. You have different purposes, different goals, different aims, but you're creating that and you're stepping into it. And so as a giant, if you're looking at creating anything in your life, whatever it is, it doesn't have to look like mine or yours or anybody else's. When you step into that and start taking ownership of that and growing that, that is the giant's journey.
And trust the process. And one step at a time, like everything's a process. And I'm a big thinker. I see a big picture. I just want the big picture and the details up until today. And that's another life hack. Up until today, I was a procrastinator. Up until today, I would wait for things to come to me. And because I would want the big picture, I wouldn't see those little steps. And one little step is meditation every day. Every day. That's one little thing you can do. Do it. If that's a big thing, good for you. Yay. And trust the process. Everything's a process. And one thing about meditating that really helped me was planting literal seeds in my meditation. So I have a very active mind, and turning it off didn't work because I can't just turn off my mind. It doesn't work. So I used it for my greatest advantage. So I decided to plant a garden. And the first thing I planted was a seed of joy. And with Jay Shetty, he took me on this journey. And then 2 weeks later, I kid you not, somebody messaged me on Facebook. They pulled a card for me saying, live in joy. And then she's like, I had to write this down. And it was a letter saying, you have planted the seeds of joy. It is now time to reap your rewards. You have found your soul purpose. And I was like, oh. So then I've just got so excited. So I planted all the fruitages of the spirit: love, joy, peace, long suffering, kindness, goodness, faith, mildness, self-control. I got crazy with it, and even more, like an abundance and honesty and truth and integrity. And then I would go in and take everything out that wasn't planted, that I didn't plant, and I would upkeep it and actually like do the details, like actually rip apart the seed, the not the seed, but the package that the seed is in, plant it, put a label on it, put a stake in it, just like you would do a normal garden, and then go back every day and water that garden. And then eventually I'm like, well, I don't want to do all the work. So then I just invited my fairy friends to come and do it for me. So now I don't have to maintain it, and I can go and enjoy and reap the benefits of my hard work. And it's just beautiful. So plant seeds, what you want to grow, plant those seeds and water them every day. If meditation, if that's a trigger word, a lot of people, it is. It's like, oh, I tried it. Well, try it differently. This might work.
Yeah. So if, first thing that comes to mind here for you, if you were to give some advice or wisdom to the people that are watching that are on the giant's journey, what would you say?
Oh, I don't like the word advice, just because then it feels like, what suggestions? First one would be find what works for you. Find what works for you, what resonates with you. Work with that. Work with your greatest strengths. My greatest strength, a lot of people say ADHD is a disability. I completely took the dis out of it. It is my greatest ability. I'm using it for me. I'm using it for everyone. So we get given or diagnosed with something that, like if it's depression, a bipolar, I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1. But that isn't a disability. It isn't the worst thing. It's actually it's a gift, and we just have to know how to use it with the right tools to cultivate it. ADHD, I love it. I call it attuned to a higher dimension. It makes me funny. It look how many topics we've talked about in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
That's so cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we learned, Ryan and I learned from one of our first guests that having a mental illness you can create it into a superpower.
Oh, it is. It is a superpower. You just, we're diagnosed as it is a disability. It's not.
And people keep it pretty taboo. So,
It's hard to talk about.
It's one of those things that isn't talked about enough. And especially in the workplace, with friends, family, that's where there's more of that small talk that we talked about at the beginning of the show. That's where some transformation could occur.
And the cute side of crazy, right?
Yeah, the cute side of crazy. And it definitely has its dark side for sure.
Oh yeah.
And but learning to work with people that have disabilities, taking the dis out of the disability. I like that. Brian, I know you have ADHD and
attuned to a higher dimension.
He's awesome to work with. We work with it. We don't shut it down. We work with it. It works great. I have anxiety and you learn to work with it, and it becomes empowering because then you learn the tools that you need to move forward regardless of that.
Yeah. Or because of, right? You're learning. And I find because we're giants, we also have a giant responsibility to be accountable for ourselves. When we're on our path, I know I'll speak for myself, I am the way shower. So one day I was walking through the snow and it was really difficult. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there's people behind me and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is difficult, but I'm making it easier for them. They can follow my footsteps. And if they don't, that's okay. They can go their own way. But walking through this hard, cold snow, it's getting up in my ankles. I didn't prepare for it. But when you're prepared and you have the snowshoes, it's not as difficult of a journey. And it's about finding the tools that work for you. And don't say no to different modalities. So many different things have helped me. EFT tapping, oh, it's beautiful. It's helped me so much, EFT tapping. And there's just so many modalities that I've tried, and some don't resonate, some don't really work. But how do I know they're not working, right?
Yeah.
So try it. You don't knock it till you try it. Find something that you resonate with. Go just do some research. Check out EFT tapping right now. That can help. That will help everybody.
I like it. I keep shutting you off. So I'm just thinking of your banner already. I'm already out in the future on it. Of your banner for your show is going to be the cute side of crazy.
Oh my gosh! Thank you. That is the cute side of crazy. Yes. Oh, I love it.
As we wrap up the show, we're at the hour here. Are there any final thoughts from either of you?
I'll let you guys go first, and then I'll come back around.
The thing that I love about all of this, every time we have a giant on, is that somebody out there is going to resonate. Somebody out there is going to feel these different things and relate to Deb and what's going on there, and needed some support, needed somebody to affirm that, look, I'm not the only one, that these things happen to other people as well, and that they can find courage and push through their fears and stand on top of their story. And Deb, you've done that. You've been through a lot of stuff, but that has helped. I say it before. I've said it a lot of times. I'm thankful for all of the problems and all the hardships and all the crazy and all the mess in my life, because it's made me who I am right now today. Yes. And for that, I'm proud of that. And I can see that. And I'm proud of you for where you've come and for being a giant. And so thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today, because it's going to help a lot of people for a long time. So continue doing that. And we're here to support you. How can we find you? What can we, you give some final advice, but also share with the people how we can get more Deb.
Okay, so I have a chapter written in a book that's just incredible. It's an anthology of other people's beautiful stories that have stood on top of their stories and the hard things that you don't want to talk about. In my chapter, I talk about mental health. I talk about rape. I talk about addictions. But it's standing on top of it and saying, this is how I got through it. It's called Sacred Heart, The Rising Sparks of Light. You can get it on Amazon, but if you want a signed copy, contact me on Debbie I Believe You, or Deb on Facebook. you can get a signed copy. I'll send it out to you. Maybe you'll get some Canadian maple syrup. No, I'm just joking. I'll spray it on. I'll spray a scent on it or something.
Canadian musk. I love it.
You don't want you don't want Canadian musk.
I love it. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you for sharing so openly, and I, like Ryan says, somebody's going to resonate. People are going to resonate with this. There are so many people that do have mental illness, that struggle, that need to hear that too, that it's okay, that you can use it as a superpower to take the disability out of it, to take the dis out of disability. And so I think that's powerful.
I want to read a poem, so I'm going to look for it while you're talking.
Yeah. Just for you, the giants who are on this journey, it looks different for everybody. There's a start point. There's a point where you're wondering, is there more from my life? Is there something that I can do that's different? Like Britt in the story, you're questioning, and the place to look for the answers is either inside of you or looking up to somebody that's doing what you would like to be doing. And then to reach out and work for it every day, to be intentional about your days, because the truth is many of us wake up with debilitating depression or anxiety. And knowing how to work through that and be intentional through that, you can still create amazing things, even while you have ADHD or anxiety or depression or bipolar disorder or whatever it is. You can still create amazing things. And so just remember that. So I think that's all I wanted to say around it. Did you find your poem?
I did. And I just wanted to say before, do you remember the Care Bears?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Grumpy Bear? Okay, he still had his power because he was grumpy, because he could see the other aspects, and he was able to go help other grumpy people. So if you're a grumpy person, own it. Be a grumpy person. Be like Oscar. Be a Grumpy Bear, but use it for good. Like, help other grumpy people. That's why you're there, is to help other grumps. So I'm gonna read a poem. It's called Forgiveness. This is poetry really helps me, and this has taught me how to grow, how to plant seeds. So it's called Forgiveness. What does it mean to forgive? The definition for me is to live. For others, it's to keep their eyes closed while fully awake. Forgiveness is never for someone else to see. This is an illusion, thoughts kept under lock and key. I have found the secret, the trick of the trade. All that is needed is some dirt and a spade. You bury the pain within the earth, within the ground. Let nature do the hard work. She works without a sound. Plant the seed of hope in place of the transgression. Water it, nurture it, watch. You will see the progression. To heal is something you need, so why not start with a small little seed?
I like that. That was awesome.
And I'll post that on I'll send it to you guys so you can share that out.
That is a great way to end the show. So appreciate everybody being on with us. Thank you, Deb, for your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel just so honored to be. Thank you for holding space, because it isn't easy to hold space for people. And you guys do it's so much fun, and it's so enlightening, and it's just, I feel so held. So thank you for holding this Canadian.
You're welcome.
We're Canadians.
The one final thing is, if you haven't checked out the book yet, go to giantsandsmalls.com, get a copy of the book. Also, the event that we have on Friday the 13th, November 13th, right? 7:30 p.m. It's going to be live, online, interactive. We're going to go over the 6 steps of becoming a giant and have some powerful tools that people can use to make it through their giant's journey. So we hope
Where can they register for that, Nick?
If you do that on Giants and Smalls on Facebook, you can find the registration link there, or we'll post it again in the Tribe of Giants. And it's $20. It's pretty cheap to be a part of it. And we're going to create a lot of value for you inside of that event. So,
and don't forget to share this out. If this resonated with you, then it's going to resonate with one of your friends. Share it out and encourage them to share this, because I feel that everyone has a story, everyone has value, and everyone can relate to something I said, or that you said, or that anyone said. So just share it out. Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. Anton Gray, sharing is caring.
Right.
Cool. Guys, thank you for being on the show. We hope you make it a giant week, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks, Deb.